Everybody, this is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. I've already done one tutorial today and I decided to do another one. So we're going to make some rings. I cannot make rings in my classroom because I don't have enough mandrels to go around. So we're going to do it in a tutorial, and I just wanted to do several of them. I really enjoy making them, and I'm not a huge ring person, but every time I make them I end up wearing them because I just like them. So we're going to make several kinds of rings. They're going to be they're not going to be hard to make. They're just going to be different. They're all beginner. Let's just get real. They're all beginner rings, and I just wanted to do something a little bit different. We're going to be using different kinds of beads. We're going to be using some 3mm stone. I've got these cute little stone beads over here. We've got some glass pearls, some paper beads, and some crystals. I'm just going whole 9 yards. And I'm going to make as many as I can and before I run out of time, which I have determined that I shouldn't go more than an hour. Otherwise, it scares people away. So we're going to make several rings, at least 3, hopefully 4, and I'm going to start with the most time-consuming ones. But they don't take a lot of time. I just wanted to do the ones that are, if I start with the easy ones, people, well, I mean, you can stop it and go and do the rest later. But if I start with the more challenging ones, I don't want to say hard. If I start with the more challenging ones, you're more likely to go ahead and do the easier ones later. So let's go ahead, and we just need the usual tools, the round nose pliers that are, the barrels are round all the way around, the square nose pliers that are slightly rounded on the outside and flat on the inside. Remember, if you buy these in the store or if you're ordering them online, make sure that the inside is smooth and not ridged. Otherwise, it can really tear up your wire when you're working with it. And you need a pair of flush cutters or just wire cutters. They don't have to be flush cutters. You'll need a selection of beads, your choice of what kind of beads you want to use, and some 20 gauge wire and 24 gauge wire. 20 gauge wire and 24 gauge wire, and a ruler, and some kind of a cylindrical item that's the size of your finger. I'm using the barrel, the stem of my little rubber mallet. That's it. That's what I'm using. So let's get down here to the mat and get started on the first one. Okay, the first one that we're going to make is a pretty, I call it a swirl ring, because it's got a little swirl in the center, and I just thought it was really pretty when I saw the picture of it. I just thought it was gorgeous. So what we're going to do is get 2 pieces of, I should have done this before. I need to double check my wire with these little beads and make sure they fit on it. Yes, they do. Barely, but they do. Oh, wow. If there's a little bend in the wire, they are not going on there. Let me double check and make sure that these little 3mm are going to work. Because if not, I'm going to switch to something else. Yes, they do. Oh, see, if there's a little bend in your wire, these little 3mm don't like that. So what you can do is just take your pliers and get rid of that little, I just see a little bit of a bend. Yeah, they don't like it. And I think that's going to be too much of a pain in the neck to deal with. So instead, 4mm, forget the 3mm. We're not going to use any 3mm. I have been wanting to use these forever, and now I can't. Oh well, I need to put those away. All right, so we're going to use these 4 millimeter crystal rondelles for our swirl ring instead of the 3 millimeter stone beads, because those did not work. Okay, so you'd have thought I'd have known to check that ahead of time. Virginia, bad girl. All right, so we have 2 pieces of 8-inch wire, 20 gauge. And what I'm going to do is grab my cylindrical item. I need to put these side by side, and they need to stay side by side. And I'm going to wrap it around the arm, leg, base, whatever you want to call, of my cylindrical item. So I'm just going to wrap that around, and you want to just go in the center of the wire and wrap it around one time. Keep those side by side. You don't want them crossing over each other. And they just need to be nice and flat. Okay, there we go. And now I know that this is a little big for my finger, so I'm just going to pull it just a smidge so that it'll fit. Now, when you make these, you don't want to make it a perfect fit, because for some reason, as you work with it, the wire gets smaller. So I want it to be slightly larger than my finger, but not too much. I know that probably makes absolutely no sense. But once I start wrapping the wire around, it tends to get smaller on the inside of the loop. And I want to make sure that it's going to fit me. Okay, so I've got my wire. And what I want to do is go here, right where it's crossed over in the middle. So there my wires crossed over each other, or just bypassing each other, I guess I should say. And I want to wrap them around each other. So this wire is on this side. So I want to wrap it around this wire. So I'm just going to give it a bend, switch to the other hand. Bend it a little more, and you're going to have to be very patient. Because it's going to try to shift. Well, it's not going to try to shift. It is going to shift. And now see how that's lifting up. Okay. Let's get a little loop around, and you can switch to your pliers at this point, just to hold it in place. And now this wire, this one's going around this wire, and this one needs to follow it around. Now, here's where it gets a little tiny bit tricky. I need to hold it in place with my pliers. And wrap the wires around each other, sort of like you do when you're making a rose. And once you've got it kind of secured, it'll be easier. But the first little bit around is going to be a challenge. And bring this over their side. I want them opposite each other. There we go. And still side by side. But now I have a little knot in the center. Try it on. Fits. And now let's introduce a bead. So I'm going to grab one of my beads and I'm going to slide it on the one that's closest to my wrap, my little spiral. Slide this bead on. Here we go. Let's move that out of the way. And let's wrap this wire around my two wires, my two ring wires. Now what I want to do, since I need to wrap this around, I want to hold on to this so that it doesn't lift up when I'm trying to wrap. And this is a little long. I don't need it quite this long. So what I'm going to do is cut it off a little bit so that it'll go through the rings easier. Just cut it down just a tad. Okay, and then feed my wire through the rings. And you can use your pliers for this if it's easier to grasp. Just wrap that nice and tight around my rings, making sure that they're not crossing over each other. And that's a lot to remember, but it will be worth the effort. Okay, wrap that around. I'm just going to wrap it around 2 times. I just want to secure it. Okay, and then once I've wrapped that around, I'm going to cut this off now. I see people cutting it off underneath, but that's where my finger is. So I like to cut it off on top. I'm not taking any chances. And then this little tip, I'll push it down. Till it's nice and snug against the other wires. And I keep going around here, making sure that my wires are sitting the way they should sit. Okay, now I'm going to put another bead on. Now I want to decide where I want it to go. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and put it way up here beside the other one. Yeah. Or should I put it down here? No, I'm going to put it up here. Okay, and once again, I'm going to wrap, clip a little bit of that off. Feed it through the rings. And wrap that around. Nice and snug. Let's cut that off. And oops. Okay, push that down. A little tip. There we go. Let's go to the other side and do the same thing now. You don't have to put them in the same place. It's up to you. If you want to vary it a little bit, you can. Okay, let's put that on there. As a matter of fact, you don't even need 4. You can just put a couple of them on. You could put 3 on. Really your choice. Settle that down in there. There we go. Flip a little bit of that off because I don't need all of that. A little bit more. Check my rings. Make sure they're sitting the way they should sit. Yes. Okay, let's wrap that around, move that out of my way. Okay, wrapping that around. Okay, let's cut the little end off. Push that down. Oh, I don't think I have to cut it off, do I? I can just push it down. I think it's good to go. I just crossed over a little bit. Let's fix that. Yeah, let's bring this other one around. Do I want a third? Wow, see, I switched from 2mm or 3mm to 4mm. Now I'm wondering if I should put that many beads on. Because I think that's probably enough. What do you think? I think so. So I'm going to stop with 3. 2 on one side, 1 on the other side, and we'll swirl on this side. No, I'm going to put another bead on. You can't have too many crystals, in my opinion. Okay. Rip off that excess that I don't need to have to deal with. And crap. Wrap that around a couple of times to secure it, and because I think it looks pretty. And cut. Oh my gosh, they're back with the. If you were here for the last tutorial, you'll know they were mowing the lawn, doing the leaf blowing, and they are back. Why? Okay, there we go. All right. Let me straighten up my little rings here. And let's see what I've got. There it is. There's my little ring. Yay, 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 yay. It's a little bit more ornate because I went from 3mm to 4mm because the 3mm would not fit on my wire, but it's still pretty. It's a lot. I did another one with a with paper beads, and I thought, well, that's a lot. It's taking over my little swirl, but what can I do? One down. Let's do the next one. Okay, the next one is actually going to be using a paper bead. And let me see what I need here. I need 3 inches. 3 inches of 20 gauge wire. And this one's going to be adjustable, so that'll be nice. All right, 3 inches. Grab my little handle here. And I'm just not going to wrap it all the way around because I don't need to just yet. Just enough so that I can find my center here. So there's my little center. I'm going to put my bead on. Okay, 1.5 inches. So there's my start. So now I need 24 gauge wire. I need 12 inches of 24 gauge. Okay, so all right. So what I need to do is go right here just past the center. This bead, if you have ever worked with paper beads, you know they don't have, they're all different sizes. So this one that I'm using is approximately 5mm in length. Yeah, about 5mm in length. And the width of it is wider. But we're going to start with that 5mm. I'm going to move it out of the way. I just wanted it enough in the center that I could start to work. So I've got a little tail, a little 1/2 inch or so tail of wire to hold on to. And I'm going to just wrap this 24 gauge wire around the 20 gauge wire 2 times just to get it stabilized. Okay, and I want it on there nice and snug so that it doesn't shift. Which it will try to do when you first start out, which is one of the reasons why I like a little bit of curve in the wire. All right, so now I'm going to put my bead back on. Okay. I'm in the center here. I'm going to hold on to this tail of wire just to hold this in place. And I'm going to bring the long tail over the side, around the side of my paper bead and wrap it at the top. Let's give it one wrap around the top. Actually, what I'm going to do is give it two wraps around, since that's where what I did on the bottom. So I'm going to give it two wraps around, push those wraps together nice and close. And then I'm going to bring it down the other side. So I was on this side, and then I just turn this around like so and bring it down the other side of my bead, like so. Then I'm going to wrap it around the base of the wire under the first wrap that I did. And now that I've got that started, I've got a little frame here. I'm going to cut off this short tail because I don't need that to hold on anymore. Let's cut that off, get rid of that little excess piece, and push down that little tail. All right. So now I'm on the first side where I first started. I'm going to bring my wire around again. Around the side and wrap it around the top of the stem. And as I'm wrapping around the stem, I'm always going next to the wrap that I did before. And then I'm going to go down the back behind that first wrap on the side of my bead again, and then wrap. And I'm only doing one wrap. I've started with two just to make it even on both sides. And now I've shifted to one wrap. Make sure this stays in the center, because the more I wrap, the harder it's going to be to move it. Let's keep that centered. There we go. Another wrap down behind the other wraps and above the other wraps on the stem. Wrap that around. Again, down behind and in front. So down behind the first wraps on the bead, and then in front of the wraps on the stem. And I'm just going to keep doing that until it looks the way I want it to look. And I obviously didn't need nearly as much wire as I have, but this way I have enough. Not only do I have enough, but I have enough that I'm going to cut off that I can use this for something else. I think that might be big enough. Let's, oh, we already got a ring on my finger. Take that one off. Let's see what that looks like. Hey, ooh, 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 ooh. Yes, I think we're finished with the little wrap part. So I'm going to go ahead and snip that off. Push down that little tail. Okay, push those wires together. There we go. Yes. Let's see how much of this I had left over. 5 inches. No, not five. 4 3/4 inches wire left over. I'll find something to do with it. Okay, so there is the centerpiece of my ring. So let's grab my little cylindrical item and wrap it around. There we go. And I want to bend this down a little bit because I don't want it just sticking out from side to side. I want it to be shaped to my finger like that. So wrap that around my little handle here. I keep saying cylindrical item. Let's get real. It's a handle. Okay. Take that off. And again, my little handle is a little bit bigger than my finger, so I'm going to shape it a little bit, but this is also adjustable, so you don't have to be too worried about the exact measurement. Let's put that back on, shape it a little bit better. Okay, and now I just need to make loops on the end in order to wear it. Okay, so I like to make my little loops out to the side because instead of having something that's bumping into my skin, it just makes more sense to me. So I'm going to go ahead and roll these loops out to the side. And they don't have to be too big. I'm just going to go here right at the tip and make a loop. I'm going to roll it towards myself. Just to close it off. There we go. And the same on the other side. Turn it around, and I'm rolling it towards myself so that they'll be going in opposite directions. Okay, just grab that tip. And make my loop. There we go. And then just adjust it. Try it on my finger. Let's turn that down so that it's flat. Good shaped. Let's try it on. Yes, and then I can squeeze it together if I need to. It's a little bit bigger than I want it to be, so just squeeze it. Here we go. Ring number 2. Nice. How much simpler can it be? I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, let's do a third one. I'm gonna have to find more beads for the fourth one since the first one didn't work out. Okay, so this is just going to be a very simple one bead ring. It's going to be very, very, very easy. So all I need for that is 3 inches of wire. Okay. Grab my little handle here and wrap that around. There we go. Okay, and then I want to bend one of my wires up. Actually, it's bending it out to the sides. So I'm going to go, I just need about a quarter of an inch, not much at all. You see, am I bending it to the side? Yeah. So I'm going to bend my wire. Wait, think. Am I bending it to the side or am I bending it up? I'm bending it up. Okay. So bend my wire straight up. Boop, like that. Same thing on the other side. Boop. And I only need about a quarter of an inch for my little loop that I'm going to make. Cut that until they're even. Grab my round nose pliers and wrap. I'm going to wrap away from myself. So I'm going to wrap just right here at the tip again. Just wrap that into a loop. So there's one. And the other one, sure it's closed. The other one I'm going to wrap towards me. So they're going in opposite directions. There we go. Let's get them side by side. Turn that straight up. So they should be facing up. And the rings should be going up and they should be facing each other like this. And I should be able to see through from one through the other. Let me see. As a matter of fact, if I take a piece of wire, I should be able to just run it right through the other one. Okay. And that is where my bead comes in. Boom, it's going to go right in there. Isn't that cute? Okay, so now I just need another piece of 24 gauge wire. And guess what? There's that little piece I had left. I need 4 inches, and guess how much I have? 4.5. Yay! So what I'm going to do is string through one side of my wire. And I'm going to wrap around the base here. So just wrap around that base as close to the loop as you can get. Okay, that first wrap as close as you can get. Okay, and then the next wrap is going to go beside it. And you only need 3 or 4 wraps. If you wrap 2 times on one side, wrap 2 times on the other side. And if you wrap 3 times on one side, wrap 3 times on the other side, that sort of thing. But I would say wrap at least 3 times. And it depends on how many wraps you want to do. 3 wraps will easily secure it. If you want more wire wrapping showing, then do more wraps. Okay. 3 times around. And then push the end down. Come on, go down. It does not want to conform to what I want it to do. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to pop my bead on. And this is a pretty glass crystal. It's a kind of a teal color. It's really, really gorgeous. I don't know if you can tell on camera how beautiful the color of this is. Come on, get in there. Bumble fingers, bumble fingers. There we go. There we go. And now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can, I have a little opening in here so I can slide it through that way instead of trying to get it to go through the loop, straight through the loop. I think that's a little bit easier to do it that way. So I'm going to slide it under where the opening is. I think I need to open it a little bit more. Just a smidge. Okay, let's get that in there. A little bit more. Open. There we go. Let's close that back up. Nice and snug. There we go. And let's wrap around the other side. Now I'm going to cut this off because I obviously don't need all of that wire. And let's wrap that around the other side. As close as I can get to the loop. And then just continue wrapping beside the other wraps. I did 3 wraps on the other side, so I'll do 3 wraps on this side. Just push those over, nice and as neat as I can get them. Cut off that tip. Tiny bit I have left. And push down those ends. There we go. Make sure it's just shaped nicely. Good. And I can see this one's a little bigger, so it's going to have to go on my middle finger. There it is. There's my ring. I'm going to push this down a little bit more. And there we have it. Ring number 3. Ah, what could be easier than these guys? These are so simple. I had to break this down a little bit. It's a little bigger than I like. But all right, next. Now I have to find some beads because I had to use the beads that I was going to use for this next one for that last one. So hold on just a second. Okay, so I found these little Heishi beads. They may be actually vinyl, but I've got these little discs that I'm going to use for the last ring. And let's get 3 inches of wire in. Wrap it around my little handle. Okay. Make it a little smaller because I know my finger's not that big. And squeeze. I use the cylindrical item to make my shape because it's easier to use than your finger. Your finger is going to shift, and so you want something that's a little more reliable. Okay. Okay. All right, so now I've got that. So what I'm going to do, it's going to be the same way I did the other ring. Where's my other ring? Oh, I lost one. Anyway, it's the same way. Oh, here it is. The same way I did this one, except that we're doing a row. It's going to be a line ring. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to bend my wire up. Okay, and do the same thing on the other side here. And I only need about 1/4 inch. Nice and straight. Cut off what I don't need. So cut that down. There we go. And then I'm going to make a loop. Okay, let's roll that away from myself. I'm just going down a very small fraction away from the tip of my pliers. So I just need a very small loop. In fact, it could be a little bit smaller. Cut that off. Close that up. Okay, and the same on the other side. And again, they're going to be going in opposite directions. So this one I rolled away from me, and then I turn it around, and I can still roll it away from me, and they'll be in opposite directions. Okay. Let's close that up. And just maneuver it until They're across from each other. Make this one a little bit smaller. No, I actually think they're good, but I just need to make sure they're right across from each other. Okay, you should be able to look through one and out the other. Okay, if I take a piece of wire, I should be able to stick it through one and go out the other. Yeah, there we go. All right. So now I'm going to do that. I'm going to stick it through one side and wrap it around the base here. Okay, so I'm going to wrap that short tail around the base. I want to wrap it as close to that ring as possible. So I like to do that first wrap and then push it over. Nice and snug. And then continue wrapping beside the first wrap. So the next one's right next to it. And then a third one. And you can decide how many wraps you want after that third one. 3 wraps is plenty. You want to wrap more times? That's entirely up to you. Shift it a little bit. Bring that back over. Okay. And let's clip that tail off. Clip that off. And keep grabbing the wrong pliers. And push down that little end. Nice and snug. Okay. Now I'm going to feed my beads on. One, two, and three. Just snug them down right in the middle there. There we go. Nice. Get over here in the camera. Okay, and now I'm going to slide them right in the little opening that I have down here in my loop. I'm going to open it up just a teeny bit more. And then slide that wire right in the opening. There we go. And let's wrap it around. Oh, no, it slid back out. Once you slide it in the opening, you have to close the opening, Virginia. Slide it in that little, and I don't like to give it too much of an opening because I don't want to have to deal with closing it back up. Okay, so it's in there. Let's close that, just give it a little boop. There we go. And let's wrap it. I'm going to cut some of this off because it'll be easier to wrap if I don't have that long tail. Feed that through. First wrap as close as I can get it to the little loop. Let's push that down so it's nice and snug. Around another wrap. Nice and close to the first wrap. And wrap number 3 next to that. Okay. Clip off that tail. And push down that little tip. And there's my ring. Make any adjustments that you need to make. There it is. Nice. Ta-da! Let's get up a little higher here so you can really see. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. So there are my rings, ladies and gents. I am blinged and ringed. I love it. There we are. There are my rings. Nice. I like it. What do you think? Boom. Ah, I love it. So there are our rings. I hope you enjoyed it. We have our herringbone, we have our line ring, we have our simple little blue pearl ring, and my little swirl ring. Oh my goodness. I am ready to roll. That's it. Rings, 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 rings. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know one way or the other. If you did like it, let me know. If you didn't like it, please let me know and let me know why. You can get in touch with me at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. Or you can leave a comment or pictures of what you make on the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's spelled DEKALB LIBRARY. Or you can leave comments on the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb Library. Please let me hear from you. Please let me see what you make. Those of you who get kits will get all kinds of beads that you can use to make these items. The 4th ring, I'm going to give you little disc beads instead of the little 3mm stone beads that I was going to give you because they didn't fit on the wire and I should have checked that first. Anyway, this is it. Please come back. Until then, until next time, have a great week. Have a great weekend. See you later. Bye-bye.